Stop for a second and listen carefully. In the previous video, I showed you why most people watching this completely misunderstand this collapse. It's not that they lack information, it's that they're looking at the wrong thing. But this video goes one step further. I'm not going to tell you what you hear on CNBC. I'm not going to repeat what financial institutions say publicly. I'm going to show you what they're actually doing. Not words, not forecasts, but real capital moving inside real portfolios right now at the end of March 2026. And this is the part almost no one is talking about. There is a document circulating privately, not among people like you, not among people like me, but among clients who pay Bank of America $50,000 a year for access to one thing, not what analysts say on television, but what they actually believe. I've seen that document, not a rumor, not a headline, but something being read behind closed doors. And what it reveals about the next 30 to 60 days of the US economy is something everyone on the Golden Exchange channel needs to understand, because March 2026 will be remembered in two completely different ways. One group will look back and call this the greatest wealth-building moment of their lives. The other group will call it the crisis they stood aside from and missed. And that difference? It's not intelligence, it's not connections, it's not even access to a Bloomberg terminal. There is only one thing, whether you understand right now, how geopolitical chaos is being converted into financial opportunity. Let me show you how that mechanism actually works. Today is March 31, 2026. Just 5 weeks after the Epic Fury operation began, when the United States and Israel struck Iran, and Iran's response was exactly what the global economy fears most. They took control of the Strait of Hormuz, where 20% of the world's oil flows. Brent crude jumped from $73 to $113, a 55% surge in a single month, the largest since 1988. The 1990 record? Broken. But here's what should make you stop. Gold is down nearly 19%. Silver is down even more. The S&P 500 has lost around 7.5%. Consumer confidence has collapsed to the bottom. This is not a correction. This is a simultaneous breakdown of every so-called safe haven. And in the middle of it, investors are doing two things: panic selling or freezing completely. Both are wrong. 50 years of history is very clear. Every oil shock policy panic repricing of undervalued assets. And here's the divergence you need to understand. Bank of America has pointed out, bond yields are falling even as oil breaks above $113. This doesn't exist in any textbook. And once you understand this mechanism, the opportunity right now isn't just visible, it becomes obvious. This is where most people get it wrong. When oil surges 55% and inflation expectations rise to 3.8%, what should happen is yields go up, the Fed tightens, and risk assets get pushed down. And at first, that's exactly what happened. This doesn't exist in any textbook. And once you understand this mechanism, the opportunity right now isn't just visible, it becomes obvious. This is where most people get it wrong. When oil surges 55% and inflation expectations rise to 3.8%, what should happen is yields go up, the Fed tightens, and risk assets get pushed down. And at first, that's exactly what happened. And when recession takes over, the Fed doesn't hike. They ease, they intervene, they rename QE. That's policy panic, and it's coming. The market could still drop another 5 to 7%. A bottom may already be forming. But that's not the real question. The real question is, which assets will move the fastest when policy pivots? Because the uncomfortable truth is, by the time the headlines confirm a recovery, those who positioned early are already up 25%. So you need one framework: separate assets that are structurally broken from assets that are simply being sold off due to sentiment. Get this wrong, you lose capital. Get this right, you move ahead of the market. Airlines, trapped. Fuel costs rise immediately, but they can't fully pass that on to customers in a recession. If you buy here, you're buying a business model that's breaking from the inside. Unprofitable growth companies? Same story. They depend on cheap capital and strong consumers. Both are disappearing. Supply chains running through Hormuz? Structurally disrupted. This isn't a temporary discount. This is a permanent repricing, but this is where everything flips. Bank of America points to opportunity where few are looking. First, energy infrastructure. Pipelines, storage, LNG, transport, charging fees on flow. Not dependent on oil prices but on volume. Think Kinder Morgan, Williams companies. Second, defense and aerospace. Not a war trade, but multi-year government spending. After 9/11, this sector outperformed the S&P 500 by 47% over 5 years. Third, and psychologically the hardest, discretionary consumption. Heavily sold off, priced like a crisis. The question isn't how much has price dropped. It's what is structurally broken and what is simply misunderstood. In 23 out of the last 28 cases, when the discretionary sector hit extreme pessimism, it outperformed the market by an average of 14% over the following 12 months. Hit rate, 82%. And the irony is, the moment it feels like the worst time to buy is often the earliest signal of recovery. The American consumer isn't dead. They're shocked by $113 oil and $9 gasoline. When that shock fades, they come back, and equities move first. Next, software. The market is acting as if AI has been canceled, but $300 billion in investment from Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Meta doesn't disappear because oil is high. This is a race, not a cycle. Consumer finance? It benefits when rates fall. And gold, this is where most people get it wrong. A 19% drop isn't because the long-term thesis is broken. It's margin calls, liquidation algorithms. The thesis is still intact, only short-term flows are pushing prices down, and that's the difference. Those who see noise panic, those who understand structure act. These are the 3 rules that determine whether you make money or get taken out of the game. Rule 1. Don't buy what has already exploded higher. Sounds simple. But almost everyone gets it wrong. Those who bought ExxonMobil or Lockheed Martin right after February 28, 1. Buying at the end of March. You're buying from institutions after they've already taken profits? Rule 2. Follow flows, not headlines. Headline: oil at 113th real signal. Bond yields are falling. Those 2 things existing together means the market is telling you one thing: recession greater than inflation. And when that happens, rate-sensitive assets, oversold consumer names, oil-independent tech, and gold after liquidation will recover the fastest. Rule 3. Remove leverage. Immediately. If the market drops another 5 to 7% as warned by Goldman Sachs, leverage will force you to sell right at the bottom. The uncomfortable truth is, the biggest winners in 2009 and 2020 weren't the smartest. They were the ones still standing when everything else was shaking. History is speaking to you clearly. The winners in every crisis aren't the smartest. They're the ones who stay positioned. The losers, not stupid. They just used leverage and were forced to sell at the bottom. So the correct sequence, this isn't opinion, this is how institutions act. First, remove leverage. Second, hold undervalued assets with strong fundamentals. Third, wait for policy panic. In that order, or you get taken out of the game. Now, here's the context you cannot ignore. The International Energy Agency has called the current Hormuz shock the largest supply disruption in oil history. And every time this happens, history is not ambiguous. 1973, oil crisis, gold surged 2,300% over the following decade. 1979, Iranian Revolution, defense and energy infrastructure surged for years. 1991, Gulf War, broad market recovery. 2001, 9/11, a decade-long gold bull market. 2008, financial crisis, quality assets rose 300 to 500%. What do they all have in common? The crisis ends, but the opportunity begins before it does. In 2026, the Iran shock is being viewed as the largest since 1973. And like every time before, Hormuz will reopen. By military force, by diplomacy, or by financial pressure. Even Donald Trump has publicly raised the possibility of ending the conflict, even if the route remains partially restricted. The question isn't whether this ends. The question is, do you position before it ends? or wait for the headlines to confirm it and pay a higher price? Stop. This is the signal the market is watching, not the headlines. Oil at $113 won't stay there forever. At this level, demand starts to break. You can already see it. Consumer confidence dropping to 53.3, spending contracting, and the bond market whispering one word: recession. Then the familiar sequence unfolds. Demand falls, oil prices drop, the Fed pivots, policy panic, and those who positioned early capture gains that normally take years. Look at the data. The S&P 500 is down 7.5%. Gold is down 19%. More than half of discretionary stocks are down over 20%. This is not a market stabilizing. This is an acute shock, the phase that historically comes before recovery. But confirmation? It comes later. When you see headlines like Fed cuts rates, war de-escalates, the biggest opportunity has already passed. So watch this. Bond yields. If they keep falling while oil remains high, the market is confirming recession and policy panic is approaching. Watch diplomatic signals. Watch how the Federal Reserve changes its tone from inflation to recession. That's the trigger. But the positioning, it has to come before that. Because volatility doesn't create profit. It only rewards those who are already prepared. And here's the only question: are you waiting for certainty? Or are you positioning before it arrives?